So a lot of people want to know the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony in the criminal justice system. Some people you might know have an idea what these terms are, but they can have a lot of effect on the penalties, the lifelong consequences, and what happens at your sentencing. And so today I'm going to talk about the difference between the two. Basically, to start off, a misdemeanor is a crime that is basically the slowest on the totem pole of the criminal justice system. Most of the time, you're not sentenced to any jail time if you're convicted of a misdemeanor. You can be sentenced up to a year in jail for a misdemeanor here in Arizona. Anything over a year, you're going to be going to the Department of Corrections, and that's the prison system, and that's usually a felony. So, usually, a misdemeanor conviction, you get less than a year in jail. For a felony, you're going to get more than a year in prison. And so that's the biggest difference between a misdemeanor case and a felony case here in Arizona. The other difference is that the felony is going to stay on your record more, it's going to stay on your record longer, and it's going to stay on your record. It's more serious. When people run your background check, they're going to see, a felony instead of a misdemeanor, and it's going to be more serious. And the reason why it's more serious is because you lose your rights with a felony conviction. You don't lose your rights on a misdemeanor conviction. And so if you're convicted of a felony, you're going to lose your right to carry a gun. You're going to lose your right to vote. You're going to lose the right to serve on a jury, the right to hold elective office, things like that. All your civil rights that you get, that you lose when you're convicted of a felony, you do not lose those rights on a misdemeanor conviction. And so that's the biggest difference between those two. Normally, the felony conviction, it's going to be more serious. The felony charge is going to be more serious than a misdemeanor. Although in Arizona, anyway, there's a quirk in the law when it comes to like DUI cases. In Arizona, if you're convicted of a misdemeanor DUI, you are usually sentenced to at least a day in jail and maybe up to 30 days in jail for a misdemeanor DUI conviction here in Arizona. Um, and what is kind of interesting about that is that sometimes you might do more jail time on a misdemeanor than you could do on a felony case. I remember years ago, I represented a guy who was driving. He was in an auto accident. Somebody turned left in front of him, and he got in an accident. And he had alcohol in his system. He was charged with ag assault because the person was injured in the accident pretty bad. And so he was charged with the ag assault, charged with a class 4 felony. And we uh, we worked out a deal for him to get a class 6 something. I can't remember what it was, but it was going to be a felony. And he was going to get a felony, but he was going to get no jail time for the crime. And so I just thought it was weird that, such a serious case that started off as a class 4 felony, you're looking at 2.5 years in prison, ended up with the client getting no jail time. But if it was just like a regular DUI when you're driving home from work or something, or driving home from dinner out at dinner, and you get pulled over for DUI, you're going to go to jail for sure, on a conviction. So it's just kind of weird how that works out. But normally the felony convictions, you're going to have a much stiffer sentence, and especially if it's like your second felony, that's when you start looking at like pretty long prison times. And so that's the difference. Sometimes, again, which is kind of interesting also, is that the same facts of the case could be a misdemeanor or they could be a felony. And the easiest example of that is like a fight outside of a bar. When, people, they've been drinking too much, they get out, they leave the bar down here in Old Town or whatever, and they start fighting. Oh, well, just like your garden variety fight, is going to be a misdemeanor assault, basically. But if there's like serious injuries, if like, some guy gets punched and he falls down and, hits his head and he has a concussion and all that stuff, or breaks a leg, breaks an arm, something like that, then that's going to be charged as a felony assault case. And so that same fight, based on the injuries, could be a felony or a misdemeanor. And so that's, the difference here in Arizona. So. Anyways, hope that was interesting. Again, my name is Derron Woodfork, and I'm an attorney here in Scottsdale. And at my firm, we restore gun rights here, we seal old criminal cases, and also we do personal injury work here. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email at derronw@msn.com. That's DERRONW@msn.com. And I'll have all my information down here in the description. So please check out the description, and also please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.